Welcome, everybody. My name is Isabel Crome, and I am a startup business consultant here at the Temple Small Business Development Center. The Temple SBDC helps small businesses start and grow. We provide free one-on-one counseling and a variety of low to no cost webinars like this one. We are proud to be part of a nationally accredited network of SBDCs with over 1,000 centers across the United States. And you have joined us today for eCommerce 101 for US manufacturers. And I have a copy of today's a copy of the materials that we're using today, and a link to the recording will be sent to all attendees. You've all been muted, so feel free to post any questions that you have. We love questions. Please post them in the chat or the Q&A. Kurt has gone ahead and shared his LinkedIn in the chat, so you can find the chat there, and the Q&A is right next to it. So if you have any questions as we go along, feel free to ask them in the chat. We'll make sure that we get to them during the halftime show, as Kurt says. With that said, welcome everybody. I'll hand things over to Kurt.
Isabel, thank you so much. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Hope you had a wonderful, magical 4th of July this past weekend. We have a small, intimate crowd, kind of expected that being a holiday week. So Althea, Christine, Jessica, Kyle, Rachel, Shelly, I hope I'm getting this right. Uchenna, did I get that one right? So guys, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. What an honor and privilege. Let's make this engaging. So though you're on mute, I know, I don't want it to be a monologue. Our goal is to help deliver as much information for you as possible. We want you walking away feeling a little bit more confident on your e-commerce journey. So let's dig right in. I'm going to give a huge thank you, shout out to Isabel and the incredible, amazing team at Temple University, the SBDC. I happen to be a proud SBDC alumni. And so their services are completely free, always free, confidential, regardless of where you're coming from throughout Pennsylvania or maybe another state. There, as Isabel just said, there are nearly 1,000 centers, all parked at a university or college. Reach out to your local SBDC for help. Most importantly, I want to thank each and every single one of you as entering, kicking off, regardless of where you are in your e-commerce journey. And again, I'd love to have interaction on the chat box. Isabel's she's got my back today. She's gonna be watching it. If you want to tell us, are you just starting out? Are you digging deep? Tell us, let us know where you're coming from. Drop in your website. We'd love to check it out. Put in your LinkedIn profile or any of your other social. So again, thank you guys so much for being entrepreneurs. You are the heroes of our economy, especially for those of us that are in manufacturing, making great products here in the United States. So again, thank you for joining us. Today, what we're gonna talk about is manufacturing e-commerce success, okay? And so could I see a show of hands? How many people wanna take a look at first page rankings on Google? I sure do. We're going to talk about how do we capture those first page rankings. How about if we talk about, let me back up, landing pages that drive sales. And most importantly, how do we capture those 6, even 7-figure e-commerce opportunities? So if you're wondering who's this crazy guy coming at you today, my name's Kurt Anderson. I dropped my LinkedIn profile in the chat box. I would love to connect with you and hear what you have going on in your world. Shoot a connection over. And one thing I'm going to share with you. So my e-commerce journey started in 1995. And Isabel, I know what you're thinking to yourself, man, this guy's old. Well, yes, I am old. And this was me back in 1995, trying to figure out this whole e-commerce internet thing. And boy, I will tell you, back in 1995, I was a train wreck. My claim to fame, my accountant says I was one of the biggest disasters she ever met. That's my badge of honor. And so thankfully, this little e-commerce thing came along. I had a nice run, ended up selling that company. And here's my shameless plug, you guys. And I would be honored. As a matter of fact, I have a couple of trivia questions. If anybody gets a trivia question today, I would be honored. I'm going to send you a book, a copy of a book. The title of the book is Stop Being the Best Kept Secret. And I wrote this book, it came out last year. And the reason I wrote this book, every manufacturer that I was working with, I would say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Manufacturer, tell me about your business. They're like, oh, we're the best kept secret. We're the best kept secret. I'm like, man, I don't know if that's a great marketing strategy. So this program, this workshop, the book, it's all about trying to help you. It's an e-commerce resource guide to help you on your e-commerce journey. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a couple little case studies, success stories with you, if you will. And as we go through this process today, it's all about you. So please, again, drop those questions in the chat box. We have a little halftime show. I'm not going anywhere at the end. I would love your questions. We actually even have a little office hour after the program. We have a small, intimate crowd today. So again, let's make this interactive. The big thing is, guys, I just want you to know as you're digging into this, you have greatness within you. And so we want to go out and crush it with e-commerce. So what we want to do is I'm going to go through a 3-pronged attack on how you dig into manufacturing e-commerce success. Now, if we were going to cover all of my mistakes, all my failures since since I launched in the e-commerce in 1995, what was that, like 50, 100 years ago, whatever that was, that would take me a week-long workshop to tell you all of my mistakes. Instead, we're going to cover a 3-pronged approach, man, and I'm telling you this works. So here we go. Number 1, how do you make a great first impression? I call it Webpression. So we want to talk about how do we make a great first Webpression. Number 2, we need to stop being the best kept secret. We want to get out there and we want to dominate search. Number 3, we want to get on the offensive. So number 1, how do we make a great first Webpression? Look at these young people. Isn't that absolutely priceless? That's the same expression that we want when your ideal customer is out there. They have a problem that needs to be solved, a product that needs to be purchased. They do a search and they discover your website. They're jumping for joy. They're absolutely thrilled. Now, just for a personal note, I'm trying to have my family members have the same expression when I walk through the door, when I come home. It hasn't quite worked just yet, but I haven't given up hope. So what we want to do is the first thing we want to do to make that great first impression. We want to look at your website and your social media platforms. We want to look at your presence, your online presence, through the eyes of the buyer, the eyes of the ideal persona. And what I'd like to say is, for your website, it's nothing more. It's more or less, it's a dating site. What we want to do is we want to have those date traits to attract our soulmates. So again, think about the problem that you solve, the product that you sell or manufacturer, and who's out there and needs that product right now. And when they land on your website, they're jumping for joy. So what I want you to focus on your website is your core strengths, what you're absolutely best at. What is so common, particularly with manufacturers, they try to be everything to everyone and they end up being nothing to no one. There's like a brand confusion. So we want to focus on what you're absolutely best at on your e-commerce website. So here's a couple of tips that I want to share with you. Number 1, think about this. Don't you love when you walk into a massive brick and mortar store and you need to find one little trinket and they tell you it's in aisle 5,922 and you're thinking to yourself, my goodness, how am I going to find this item, let alone get out of the store safely? Will Siri or Alexa or my GPS help me? So think about this. A confused customer is a lost customer. A lost customer is now your competitor's customer. So we want to prevent that confusion on your website. So what do we want to do? We want clear, concise call to action buttons. Okay. So here's another tip that I'd like to share with you. On your website, have a friend, a family member, your dog, somebody that you know, like, trust, and have them get on your website, and don't give them any tips, any strategies, any ideas of what to do, and just see, do they understand what to do on your website? Does it make sense? If there's any confusion to somebody that you're close to, a coworker, what have you, odds are that soulmate, that ideal buyer, when they land on your website, they're potentially confused as well. So again, I strongly encourage you, have other folks. Sometimes we get so close to our websites, we're just so close to it, we can't see through it, that there's confusion, there's challenges, there's missed opportunities where, again, we're going to lose that customer. So we want a strong call to action of what you do on your website. Number 2, think about this. Through COVID, we just don't know where anybody's working at anymore. Are they working from home? Are they on a job site? Think about the product that you sell. Where is your ideal buyer? Are they sitting in an office at a desktop? Are they at home with their laptop in their laps? Are they on site with a mobile device? So I strongly encourage you to check out all different platforms of your website, and it's called responsive. So often we're so used to staring at our laptops or whatever computer that you're on, and we assume that it's converting well to every other platform. Make sure that you're checking out those other platforms. Here's my other tip for you today. Can anybody name this movie? If you can name it in the chat box, we might have a little prize for you at the end. So this is a great movie, took place in the state of Pennsylvania. In this movie, this gentleman in the back was kind of that annoying salesman. I don't know if you remember this movie, and Bill Murray. This gentleman was Ned Ryerson, and he would always attack Bill Murray, trying to sell him something. On your website, you don't want to be that annoying salesperson. We have a phenomenal speaker on Friday. You do not want to miss the Temple University SBDC program this Friday. She's going to talk to you about the language that you want to speak on your website and digital strategies, and she's going to help you with that. So again, think about your website. If you were at a networking event, maybe the SBDC or Chamber of Commerce or what have you, you see that one person that's always trying to sell something, you kind of dodge them. Well, we don't want to be that with our website. Make it all about them. Okay. Make it all about your ideal persona. And Groundhog's Day, you guys got it. Rachel, Shelley, thank you for answering. So Groundhog's Day, we might have something for you at the end. Yes, Bill Murray and Groundhog's Day. So we just want to be that annoying salesperson, but make your website all about them. Okay, so let's just cover a couple quick examples. This is a company called Voice Express. Great, amazing American company here in Connecticut. And they had some challenges when we first met them. So this is what we did. We take our clients. And so just to give you an idea of what the product that they make, if any of you have ever purchased a bear at Build-A-Bear and you bought it for a friend, a family member, a child, and that bear spoke to you, Voice Express makes that little recording device that goes into the Build-A-Bear. Well, they were having some challenges with their website. There was just a disconnect with their ideal buyer, their soulmate. So what we did is we went through that ideal buyer persona. Okay. And we called that exercise. And this was what we created. We created Monica. Monica Ventez is, this is a mock-up. This is, she's a chief marketing officer for a company. And you can find Monica hanging out on weekends. She's a sports mom. She's in her mid to late 30s. She's married. She's active on LinkedIn. So again, what is critical for your web strategy is create that persona of who you're trying to target. Once we created Monica and we were able to speak to Monica, then we can put the right language on our website to speak to that soulmate. So what we did is we changed the verbiage. We came out with videos and all sorts of other things. Here's that little recording device that goes in that little Build-A-Bear. We have our call to action buttons here. And so again, we want to make it clear and concise, speaking the right language to the right buyer. Okay. And again, welcome any questions that you want to drop in the chat box. And when we get to halftime, we'll hit that. Let's talk about another, let me share another little success story here with you. This is a manufacturer called Falconer Electronics. We're so thrilled with Falconer Electronics. They're located outside of Buffalo, New York. And last year during COVID, they were awarded the Innovative Manufacturer of the Year for 2020. We were so thrilled, so exciting. Some good news during some tough times last year. Their persona. So here's another trivia question for you guys. I have a teenage daughter, so I know this movie. I know this movie inside and out, every song. You can name this movie. But our persona was Engineering Elsa. Okay, Engineering Elsa. So what we wanted to do for any engineers or any purchasers, how can we speak that right language to that engineer? Let's take a look at this landing page, and we're still dedicated to how do we make that great first Webpression. Okay. Now, Engineering Elsa lands on this page, and what does she see? She has two options. We're trying to eliminate that confusion. Again, think about like that major brick and mortar store where there's a lot of confusion. We have two options. Number one, click here to get started. It's this little software tool that I'm going to talk to you about in a minute. Number two, simply submit a drawing. All we want to do, we're not asking for your firstborn. We're not asking for a social security number. We just want to just give us the information. Let's get that party started. We want to dedicate ourselves to helping our soulmate solve their problem as quickly as possible. Okay, so let's take a look at another landing page here. Again, we're trying to make that great first Webpression, and we're trying to speak the right language to our soulmate. Okay. Now, Falcon Electronics manufactures power strips, just like, power strips that you see in your home. However, these are heavy duty commercial grade power strips. So let's look at the language that we're speaking to engineering ELSA. Manufacturing commercial power strips since 1985, made in USA using US fabricated steel, by direct, no middleman, certified to rigorous UL standards. Then check this out. Our power strips can be found powering product displays at retailers such as Walmart and Lowe's. So what we're trying to do on this page is we wanted to establish some credibility with ELSA. So let's take a look here. Let me back up the page. So if you walk into Walmart, any Walmart in all of North America, and you go into their television department, behind that little TV set is this heavy duty metal fabricated power unit. That's manufactured right at Falcon Electronics. If you go to Lowe's during a holiday season, their artificial Christmas tree displays are powered by these power strips, again, manufactured at Falcon Electronics. What was happening, consumers were walking into Lowe's, they were seeing that power strip, they were flipping it over, they were seeing the name of Falcon Electronics on the power strip. They started contacting Falcon Electronics and saying, hey, can we buy your power strips? And we said to ourselves, hey, this is an e-commerce opportunity. Let's put our power strips on our website in e-commerce and let's see if anybody wants to buy them. And sure enough, if you're new to e-commerce, it is so exciting. It's thrilling because you're in business 24/7. And this is what an order looks like. You see the order, the date, they pay you with a credit card. You're paid before you even ship the order. It is so wonderful being in e-commerce. Now, what we did is by putting those power strips on our website, it opened up the door for us to start doing. We landed a nice project with Target. We've landed a really nice project with Dick's because we put e-commerce products on our website. And since this is a manufacturing manufacturing series, you'll appreciate this. We received some really nice notes from folks that are looking for products made in USA, maybe someone in the Department of Defense, or even this person here. Just want to say thanks for building your products here in the USA. I do my best to search for and purchase products made by American hands on American soil. Trips earlier today to local hardware store and last night at Lowe's found that they both sold about 25 power strips, all of them made in China. Very disappointing. Your new customer. So it's great when we have made in USA products that we can put on our websites. So let's take a walk through. If e-commerce is new to you, let's take a look at the steps that it takes to launch that new e-commerce presence. So this platform I'm going to talk about is WordPress. Now, I'm going to assume many of you on WordPress. Why? 37% of the web is already built on WordPress. It's free, it's ubiquitous, it's easy to find a designer. So again, if you're new and you're contemplating, hey, what e-commerce platform should I use? WordPress is a great place to start, especially if your website is already on WordPress and you're looking to launch and add e-commerce. Now, WordPress has a plug. They have all sorts of plugins, if you're familiar with that. And a plugin is just simply a little tool that you're going to add to your website to add a new function. So if you want to add e-commerce to your website, the plugin for WordPress is called WooCommerce. Once again, one of our favorite words, free. There are free plugins for WooCommerce. Now, let's say, hey, Kurt, I'm not into WordPress. I'm not already on WordPress. I'd like to explore other options. Tons of other options out there for you. So you could explore like Shopify, Wix, 3D Cart, BigCommerce, Weebly. There's all sorts of different options. The costs are extremely reasonable. Many brand new shopping carts you can get into for literally like $20, $25 a month. So the great thing is e-commerce is not cost prohibitive. Now, another thing that you have to have on your website is called an SSL certificate. Okay. And even if you're like, hey, I'm not into e-commerce yet, you still need an SSL certificate. Why? Several years ago, Google started deeming if you use Google for your browser and you notice when it says not secure, that means that that company is not using an SSL certificate. So when you're on a website in e-commerce, you have to have that little padlock right there where it says HTTPS. And the company that we recommend that we use for our clients is a company called Settigo. And not only is Settigo one of the top brands and most secure, we also just enjoy saying it. Settigo. That's kind of a cool name. So again, those are a few checklists. Now, again, what I'd like to offer is at the end of the program, I have an e-commerce checklist that Sarah from the SBDC can send out to you guys, and it will go step by step on a little checklist for you as you're getting into e-commerce for the first time. So now let's continue our story. Let's go back to our friends at Falconer Electronics one more time. Falconer Electronics manufactures a product called ground straps. And you're thinking to yourself, what on earth is a ground strap? Well, I'm so glad you asked. A ground strap is an item that goes in every single electrical device that draws a current, needs to be grounded. Otherwise, you're going to look like this guy. Not good. Or if you can see me, I don't have any hair, you might end up looking like me. Nobody wants that to happen. So every electrical device on the planet that draws a current needs to be grounded. So think planes, trains, automobiles, appliances in your kitchen, the computers that we've been staring at for the past 18 months or so, everything needs to be grounded. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. So Falconer Electronics manufactures thousands and thousands of these ground straps every month. However, nobody knew that they made it except for one customer. What was the problem? They were the best kept secret. Okay. So what we decided to do, just like with the power strips, hey, that was an e-commerce opportunity. We're like, this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Is there a chance that somebody else on this planet would want to buy our ground straps since it's a huge market? We're manufacturer, we can sell manufacturer direct. Let's go into e-commerce. So we did the exact same thing as we did with our power strips. Here's a little, take a look. So we have add to cart, we've added a description. We took pictures of the item. We never even put these items in stock. We're like, hey, let's just roll the dice and see, does anybody on the planet want our ground straps? And let's take a look here. And whoops, I'm jumping ahead. Sorry, guys. Sure enough, we receive an order, man, and this was awesome. So e-commerce, you're in business 24/7. Somebody pulls out a credit card, they can buy on a Saturday, on a weekend when you're closed. You take a look here, somebody made a purchase. Now you look down here at the very, very bottom, and you're like, man, this order came from a company called Boeing. So how exciting is that one of the largest companies on the planet found little old Falconer Electronics. They're about 30 employees, been around since 1985. They're literally a mom and pop business, but yet big Boeing found their product and made a purchase online. Super exciting for them. So what I want to share with you about e-commerce, I've been in e-commerce for 50, 60 years, or it certainly seems like it. It's a great way to test the market. There is no means that is more efficient, more affordable for you to kick the tires, test products out cheaply and affordably than with e-commerce, just by putting these items on your website. And again, as I'm going through this process, it's all about you and how can we make this applicable for you in your business. Now, hopefully this will resonate, especially since we're targeting manufacturers. Let's say you're like, well, Kurt, we customize a lot of product. It's not that easy just to put a product on our website. Well, we thought the same thing, but this is what we did. So Boeing and our soulmates and a lot of other exciting manufacturers and other companies are landing on our website, and they're digging our ground straps. How exciting. It's a huge market. We're like, man, we want a slice of this big pie. So what we did is we had the product, but people were landing on the website saying, hey, we like what you have, but we need a different size. We need a different length, a different configuration. Okay. So what we did is we went to our web designer and we said, hey, it's not realistic for us to have an infinite number of sizes on our website. Could we create what's called a configurator? We call it a quote builder. So again, put yourself in the shoes of engineering Elsa, our persona, our ideal dream buyer. Let's say Elsa works for Boeing. And this morning, her supervisor comes in the office and says, Elsa, you need to purchase 30 items by the end of the day. Ready, go. And Elsa's like, my goodness, how am I going to finish all these things? First thing on her list is this little goofy item called a ground strap. Now that you're a ground strap expert. So she does a search. I'm going to show you in a few minutes how we're coming up on first page for Google and how we make it easy for Elsa to find us. Then when Elsa lands on this page, Let's see what Elsa sees, because we're trying to make that great first webpression for Elsa. Receive an instant ground strap quote, build your own custom ground strap. No RFQ wait time, takes 60 seconds or less. Are you kidding me? How many of us have had to wait hours, days, even weeks for somebody to come back with a quote? Here we're telling Elsa, our soulmate, Elsa, we know you're busy. We have your back. We're going to get you on your way in about 60 seconds. By manufacturer direct, made in USA since 1985. Here's our call to action. No confusion. We don't want any distractions. We just want Elsa to get that quote fast. If there is any confusion, here's a video to help Elsa to make that conversion. Now, our quote tool is so easy, guys. Even I could use it. So on this page here, Elsa can either click yes, or she clicks no. If there's any confusion, whether Elsa should click yes or no, we have a video down here. We have a little picture of the product that she just created. And here's a box. And here's another tip. Strongly encourage you, as you get into e-commerce, have that confirmation. I'm assuming we're all consumers on e-commerce. And I don't know about you, I have a bad memory. So I make my purchase. I'm like, man, what did I just buy? It's great when you tell your customer that confirmation, this is what you just purchased. And here's what we have is this little configuration of what they just made. Now, this isn't complicated at all. It's just like making a t-shirt. This could be like creating a pizza. You know, I want I want cheese, I want anchovies, pepperoni. This could be an insurance policy. I have 2.5 kids. I have a picket fence. I have a dog, right? So again, this can be super easy, and we just want to make it super simple for our customers to buy from us. Now, engineering Elsa comes on. This is what she receives instantly in her email box, is a confirmation of what she just made. Doesn't exist anywhere else on the planet. And check this out, down at the very bottom, she can actually even buy. Also can pull out her credit card, make a purchase, move on to the 29 other things that she needs to buy for the day. And our goal is that we just made her a rock star to her supervisor by making her life easier right then. So, and you're like, well, how do I know it's engineering Elsa? Let me throw in my LinkedIn hat. If you're not on LinkedIn and you're in the manufacturing space or B2B, I strongly encourage you, welcome you. We do a lot of LinkedIn workshops. Get active on LinkedIn, because this is what we do. Every lead that comes into your website, I strongly encourage you, welcome you, invite you. Check them out on LinkedIn. It's a great way to make that connection. I would love to connect with you guys on LinkedIn. But let's take a look at Elsa here. So Elsa works for a company called Virgin Hyperloop. It's Richard Branson, the gazillionaire. It's one of his family brands. And Elsa has a bachelor's degree from Stanford in engineering. Not only that, she has her master's degree, and she was on the lacrosse team, man. She is a rock star. She is amazing. Now, the thing is, when we reach out and connect with Elsa, I know a bunch about Elsa, and we can even take that relationship a little bit further. And we've created a wonderful relationship now with this great project. And again, this is little tiny Falcon Electronics doing these things. So it's super exciting. So guys, companies like Virgin Hyperloop, Boeing, Ford, Halliburton, Amazon Robotics, Johnson & Johnson have all discovered little small mom and pop Falcon Electronics because we narrowed down our focus. We dug deep into who is our ideal buyer, that soulmate. And then we want to make sure that we have that right language that we're speaking to our soulmate. Okay. So again, the whole reason for our existence, how we reach success, is we help others. We raise them up that hill and we help them be successful. That's how we're going to drive our business. And that's going to help us with our e-commerce success. So Isabel, I'm going to put this out there in the chat box. Guys, do you have any questions on that part? We just finished. How do you make a great first webpression? Do you have any questions right now that we want to address?
Thanks, Kurt. So I do not see questions in the Q&A, but there was one question that came through in the chat looking for more information about
Allison. Okay.
About somebody coming through Temple. Somebody coming to Temple on Friday.
Yep. So what we'll do, so at the end, I have our whole schedule at the end. So the speaker on Friday, her name is Allison DeFord. She's my bestie. She's in LA and she is absolutely phenomenal. I strongly encourage you guys on Friday. I believe it's at same time at noon. And what we could do is we'll get the link at the end of the program, or maybe Isabel, if you had a chance, maybe jump on SBDC website. So on the 9th, you have a program. It's Allison DeFord. Drop that in the chat box, and then folks can register for Allison on Friday. She is absolutely hysterical. Now I'm going to give you a tip. I encourage you, don't drink anything. Don't have any liquids in your mouth while Allison is presenting. She is so funny that your drink will end up on your keyboard, and we don't want that to happen. So she's brilliant. She's funny. High level tips and strategies this Friday. Don't want to miss Allison. Okay. So if there aren't any other questions, and please don't be shy. I want to say desperately, I'm extremely passionate about helping you with your e-commerce journey. Feel free to drop any questions. We're going to jump into the next section. And this section, so we just covered how do you make that great first impression? We call it Webpression. Next, we're going to talk about search. Okay. How do you stop being the best kept secret? And how do you get found on search? And so let's dig right in. Okay. If you are new to search strategies, we're going to talk about Google pay-per-click. Google pay-per-click is how Google makes their gazillions and gazillions of dollars, right? Which we all bought their stock a long time ago. But what Google does is when you do a search, we all probably use Google on a daily basis. And when you see that little AD right there, that AD stands for ad. That's a Google ad. And what it means is somebody is not paying to be in that position. They are paying every time somebody clicks on that ad. Okay. Now it's a bidding process. It costs money and it can get expensive. Now, since we are ground strap experts, I'm going to just use you show an example of ground straps. So when somebody does a Google search for ground straps, let's take a look at what that ad says there. Okay. So we have custom ground straps, free shipping, made in USA. So again, those are important things that we want to speak that right language as we're creating our advertisements or our headlines. We want to speak clearly to our personas. We have in stock, and we also have a buyer's guide. Okay. So now, if you want to, for Google ads, if you want, you're like, man, I've got to get into the game yesterday. This is the way to go. You just want to be mindful of, you need to have a budget, and it can become expensive quickly on paying for those ads. Now, the next thing you might have noticed on Google search is what's called Google Shopping. Now, 10, 15 years ago, Google had never had anything. It was just plain text on a Google search. Now, when you do a Google search, you could do like flowers or you do shoes. There's all sorts of images. There's a bunch of things going on. Why did Google change? Competition. Competition from who? Amazon and social media. Now we have other choices and other places to go to for our search results. We don't have to rely just on Google. Therefore, Google stepping up their game. So this is called Google Shopping. Again, this is a pay-per-click model. The conversions are significantly higher because the consumer, your ideal buyer, your soulmate, can see the product. Okay, so this is a great strategy to use Google Shopping. Now, if you dig into this yourself, I strongly encourage you educate yourself on how these strategies work. If you're outsourcing or you're hiring somebody, boy, make sure you hire somebody that you trust impeccably, because again, I've seen some real awkward, uncomfortable situations where these ad spends can add up quickly. Okay, so now those are the only two slides that we're going to talk about where you're spending money. These next slides, we're going to talk about everything is free. Now, guys, I also offer a free e-commerce webinar series every single Friday. Every Friday at 1:32 Eastern time. So we've got Allison coming up at Temple this Friday. Every single Friday through the summer, I have speakers. A week from Friday, we have an expert speaker on Google Shopping. His name is Kevin Burrell. He used to work for Google. He now works for Pinterest. So I welcome you to join us on our free e-commerce webinar program every Friday. So guys, those past slides are the only slides where you need to spend money. Moving forward, it's going to take time. However, this is the money section. This is where you drive business. And this is, so let's dig right in, okay? Now, if all of you are familiar, when you do a search, maybe if you do like a local restaurant or a local retail shop, nail salon, whatever it is that you're looking for locally, you see like that little map comes up. That's called, it used to be called Google Local. It is now Google My Business. in the past, when I would do workshops for manufacturers, I'd be like, yeah, Google local, it's a nice to have. I feel it is an absolute must to have now. So I don't care if you're just targeting, if you're targeting national, local, I strongly welcome you, encourage you, be active on Google My Business for two reasons. Number one, what's one of our favorite words today? It is free. Secondly, it's the almighty Google. So what Google has done, they're basically giving you it's an opportunity. You're almost creating like your own free website. And you see here, like you can post photos, you can put up blog posts, you can have videos, you can have all sorts of information. It's a great way to put your keywords, your products, those words that your soulmates are Googling or searching to find you. It's a great place to put these. And again, it's free and it's Google. And just to give you an idea, this, if you're like, wait, what's Google My Business? It's when you do a search and you have these local results like right here, and you have a map. And even if you're like, hey, wait, Kurt, I'm not doing anything local, I'm trying to go national. This is still a great strategy for you to take full advantage of. Okay. Next, I want to talk to you about SEO. SEO stands for search engine optimization. And you're like, okay, how do you capture first page rankings on Google? A lot easier said than done. One of the best ways to capture rankings on Google is blogging. And when I say blogging, even though all of you are on mute, I hear the moans. I hear the groans. You're like, Kurt, if I wanted to be a blogger, I would have gone to journalism school. How do you get into blogging? I have a teenage daughter. Isabel, I don't know if you knew this, like you can hear eyes roll when somebody's standing behind you. I don't know if you knew that. I'm just kidding. Love my teenage daughter. I'm just teasing. So, but when I say blogging and I do these workshops live, I see the eyes roll. I hear the eyes roll. Like, man, I don't want to blog. Plus, if I blogged, I have nothing to blog about. And even if I did, it's going to be this guy here, crickets, right? Just a great way to get this guy in the program. But let's come back to our friends at Falconer Electronics. They were in the same boat. They're like, man, what are we going to blog about? They had an online identity crisis. They're trying to be a little bit of everything to everybody. They were nothing to no one. When we narrowed down our focus, just kind of recap, when we identified engineering Elsa, when we started speaking the right language to the right buyer on our website, when we had clear, concise call to action, then we took it to the next step. We're like, hey, what information does Elsa want to see? So what we did is we created content, and we're like, you know what? We're really good as wire harness manufacturers. Okay. So again, not about me, it's all about you, but think about what you're best at. Why were you put on this earth? The problem that you solve, and what information do you possess that a novice or somebody new would love to have this information, but you're the best kept secret. And that's what was going on at Falconer Electronics. So we said to ourselves, like, hey, what if we came up with blog content? We called it Wire Harness Wednesdays, where every single Wednesday we started putting out content that would be high level information to speak to Elsa when she had a problem. Okay. So we had all sorts of interesting blog posts. If you have insomnia, if you can't sleep tonight, jump on Falconer Electronics, read these blog posts. If you're not in wire harness assemblies, they'll put you right to sleep. Just kidding. But let's take a look at some of the topics. And again, we're focusing on our keywords and we're trying to speak to Elsa. So things like wire installation types, wire harness testing, types of wire terminals, wire harness terms and definitions. This is all language that resonates or is music to Elsa's ears, correct? So we're like, you know what? I came up with it. I discovered this fascinating little tip. I want to share it with you. After we started blogging every Wednesday, so maybe for you, maybe it's like Hot Tip Tuesdays or Fun Fact Fridays or whatever sector that you're in, whatever industry that you serve, think about a consistency. Okay, that's going to be our big takeaway, is a consistency. Now, it could be maybe your persona is hanging out on Facebook. Maybe you're crushing it on Pinterest or Instagram or LinkedIn or wherever you're resonating at. Think about that consistency. So we were putting out all these blog posts and we said to ourselves, hey, wait a minute, we have a whole library. We basically have an arsenal of content. Now that we've already created it, I'm going to get real technical here, Isabel. What if we take all that content, ready? We smush it together and we create a resource guide. let's take a look at what we did. Our keyword that we're trying to rank is wire harness manufacturing. Okay, so if somebody, if Elsa or our soulmate types wire harness manufacturing, we want to come up on search and we want to speak that language to them. Let's take a look at what we have going on. Wire harness manufacturing, a wire harness assembly guide. Wire harness manufacturing terms, tools, and tips of the trade. Once again, wire harness manufacturing. So I've used that keyword 3 times in a row. Wire harness manufacturing is our foundation, man. It's in our blood, dating all the way back to 1985. The team at Falconer Electronics takes tremendous pride in manufacturing amazing products. We are wire harness geeks. We call it our crusade. Here is our call to action button right here. And the great thing is we want to come back and we want to say, hey, Google, do you like what we're doing? And it's just so rewarding. It is so refreshing when Google comes back and confirms and says, hey, we do like what you're doing. Therefore, we're giving you the coveted top #1 position on an extremely challenging and competitive keyword, wire harness manufacturing. So this top box right here is called the Google Snippet. This is every search marketer's dream. We don't always possess it, but boy, when you have it, it is such a thrill. This strategy works so well. If you look down here below, you see Wire Harness Manufacturers Association, we actually are ranking above our own association. And once again, this is Falconer Electronics, 30, 40 employee mom and pop custom manufacturer. And you see, here's our guide, Wire Harness Manufacturing, a wire harness assembly guide. So we're like, all right, did we just get lucky or does this strategy really work? Okay. So when we tried it here for ground straps, you guys are ground strap experts. We did the same exact thing. We created the official ground strap resource guide. See that right down here? So here's our keyword, ground straps, the official ground strap resource guide. And you come up here out of nearly 60 million web pages. This is an extremely competitive key term. Again, think about this, multi-billion-dollar industry. We're going against like Amazon, McMaster-Carr, AutoZone, every major brick and mortar auto retailer like O'Reilly Auto Parts, whatever's in your neighborhood, that's who we're going against. And once again, Falconer Electronics gained that top coveted #1 position. Somebody could click on that 1,000 times and it doesn't cost them a single penny. And one last time, they are also one of the only commercial power strip manufacturers in the United States. We took that strategy one more time, and out of nearly 47 million web pages, they have the #1 and #2 top position. You might say to yourself, well, Kurt, who's going to type commercial power strips made in USA? Well, if Engineering also works for the Department of Defense, or one of our soulmates is in an industry where they have to purchase made in USA products, or I showed you that testimonial for consumers out there that want made in USA products, they're going to add that to that search. Therefore, we want to come up #1. So you're thinking to yourself, and this is very appropriate since we're at lunchtime today, what is Google looking for to earn those top rankings? They're looking for what's called good eats. Okay. If you're taking notes, what does EAT stand for? E stands for expertise. A stands for authority. T stands for trust. So one more time, expertise, authority, and trust. So what Google's doing is they want to give a good experience, just like we want to give all of our customers a great experience. So again, as I mentioned before, first and foremost, think about trust. If we can just be relentless and treat either like our social media, blogging, our website like a treadmill, we've got to get on that treadmill or else we get discouraged with ourselves, right? I love this slide right here because you take a look, we want to do things with integrity, commitment, sincerity, reliability. And what did I mention? That consistency. By coming out relentlessly with that content every single Wednesday. And again, we called it Wire Harness Wednesdays. Maybe it's going to be Hot Tip Tuesdays for you, Fun Fact Fridays, whatever it might be. But if you could do, maybe a video content, maybe a blog post, whatever it might be, but be consistent with that information. Okay. Now here's another tip. We won't dig deep into this. This slide here in itself could be its own workshop. Probably every single logo on here could have its own workshop. If you are putting out content, I strongly encourage you, again, as we dig deep into who is your persona, who's that soulmate, we want to speak to them on the platform that they're hanging out at. Now, if you're targeting teenagers, odds are they're not on Facebook. Why are they not on Facebook? Because not only is mom and dad on Facebook, well, guess what? Grandma and grandpa are on Facebook, and Facebook's not cool for teenagers. Well, if you're selling products to teenagers, maybe you need to be somewhere else. Maybe if you're targeting engineers, maybe they love videos. Maybe they love real high level white papers. Medium is a great resource for that. Reddit is a great opportunity. A lot of manufacturers are hanging out on Twitter. I belong to a great Twitter group for manufacturers. And of course, in the B2B space, I couldn't encourage you enough. LinkedIn is a place to be. So that's another workshop for another time. We offer great LinkedIn workshops where you can exhaust your LinkedIn superpower. That was a testimonial. We'll skip that because we're cutting it tight on time. This was one of my clients. I'll just share. They were a little skeptical on LinkedIn. We did a big LinkedIn workshop, and sure enough, we kid around. They're young. I'm old. They call me Uncle Kurt. They're like, "You're right, Uncle Kurt. You're right. LinkedIn works." And here was a great opportunity where they received a lead for their product on LinkedIn. So, all right, guys, we're going to come into the home stretch here. We've covered two sections. We covered number one, how do you make that great first impression? We called it Webpression. Number two, we want to stop being the best kept secret, dominate search. When our soulmate has a problem and they're doing a Google search or they're on social media, we want to come up front and center. We do not want those competitors coming ahead of us, right? This last section, I'm going to talk to you about how do we get offensive? How do you get offensive? Since we're at Temple University, any of our Eagle fans, I know do you guys know the name of this play? You guys won the Super Bowl on this play. Does anybody remember the name of that play? Drop that in the chat box. I'm coming to you live from Lakewood, New York. Here's a little trivia fact for you, Isabel. Your new head coach is from the town that I live in, Nick Sirianni. I wish you guys the best of luck this season. So just a little side note. So how do you get offensive on e-commerce? Let's take a look. Now, I just showed you how Falconer Electronics is attacking search engines and how we're coming up number one. Well, in this particular case, when you do a Google search for ground straps, take a look here. Falconer Electronics landed number 3 organically. Now, I mentioned that it is a multi-billion-dollar industry. We have fierce competition. We're going against AutoZone, O'Reilly Auto Parts, all these major stores. Little old tiny Falconer Electronics is number 3 organically. We should be thrilled, and take a look at who's number 1 and who's number 2. Number 1 is Amazon, big bullies. Number 2, Amazon picking on us little guys. Well, what do you do if you're Falconer Electronics in your number 3 position and you want to capture that number 1 or number 2 position? Well, I learned a long time ago, if you can't beat them, join them. So if any of you are exploring, contemplating, maybe resistant, you're like, man, should I go on Amazon? Falconer Electronics went on Amazon a couple of years ago and their products took off. Being manufacturer direct offers great opportunities. And you see here, immediately we earned that coveted Amazon's Choice banner. I took this screenshot a while ago. We now have hundreds and hundreds of I took this 6 months ago. So we have hundreds of reviews, 5-star reviews. And so this has become a nice revenue source, again, for a small manufacturer by partnering with Amazon. So if you're saying to yourself, man, should I be on Amazon? This is a scary stat to think about, okay? This isn't from me. Check this out. More than 6 in 10 searches, product searches, are on Amazon. Isn't that scary? So think about that. And that's why Google is not always the number 1 place anymore. So especially like during COVID, think about us as consumers. Amazon has made it super, super easy for us just to go on Amazon, click that buy button, and next thing you know, Mr. or Mrs. UPS is at our door the next day with our Amazon box, correct? Well, as those buyers, as your soulmates are now, they've created that pattern at home, they now are bringing it into the workplace. So what you want to think about is your ideal buyer, is your soulmate, are they shopping on Amazon? If they are, You might want to strongly consider an Amazon strategy. Another thing to think about, 50 cents of every e-commerce dollar goes to Amazon. If you're not on Amazon, you've immediately put yourself at 50% of the market. So those are just a couple of things to think about. There are all sorts of other industrial marketplaces to consider. There's one called DigiKey. There's one called Walmart, Has anybody heard of Walmart? So there's a marketplace Walmart. There's Zorro. They're a division of Grainger, explosively growing. As a matter of fact, we have a speaker from Zorro coming up on one of our free Friday webinars next month. And the great thing about the marketplaces is, let's think about what we've been preaching about through our time together today. What do we want to do as we're recapping? We want to make a great first impression. We want to dominate search, and we want to get on the offensive. And with the marketplaces, they accomplish those three things for us. Let me just show you one more example, and then we'll turn over to questions. If you recall, I mentioned earlier my friends at Voice Express. Voice Express, once again, it makes that little recording device that goes in the Build-A-Bear. Well, what they decided to do is they put their product on Amazon. Amazon basically lets you create like your own little website. Look at this. That's a great first webpression. Speaking immediately to the consumer or the buyer that wants to buy those little recording devices. Social proof. We're talking about, like those the ratings that we just saw for Falcon Electronics. I took this just a couple months ago. If you look at Voice Express now, they have something like nearly 1,000 5-star ratings for their product. So that's that social proof, telling the world, telling the market that, hey, we don't think we have great product. Hundreds of our customers think we have great product, and that helps spark that growth for you. When we talk about dominating search, I just showed you like Amazon was aggressively going after those ground straps. So what did we do? We joined them. Amazon is now using keywords for us, driving traffic to our product on through Google on Amazon. That's a great win for us. Here in this case, Voice Express, if you did a Google search for dial recorders, check this out. This is Google Shopping that we covered. Here's Voice Express number 1. Number 3, right there, Voice Express once again, and in the top position, Voice Express. So by partnering with Amazon, it helps you dominate those search rankings, those keywords, by partnering with Amazon. So that's, again, why we want to attack that. One more platform that I want to introduce to you, if this is new to you, is Alibaba. Alibaba, and if you hear the word Alibaba, you might be thinking, well, isn't Alibaba, aren't they in Asia? Well, they now are in the United States, and they are aggressively going after manufacturers to list their products. And so for another example, our friends at Voice Express put their product line on Alibaba, and they just recently received a really nice sale by posting on Alibaba. So what the marketplaces do, they help you stop being the best kept secret. Though I strongly encourage you to have an e-commerce presence on your own. By going on these marketplaces, you're such a needle in a haystack when you just start up from scratch. By going into that marketplace, you have tons of eyeballs, and it helps you get on the offensive. So guys, we're at about 7 of. I want to cover the program that we have going on. So again, I want to give a huge thank you to the SBDC. If you're not engaged with the Small Business Development Center, boy, I encourage you, invite you, implore you, check out your local SBDC. They are all over. I think there's 20, there's 15 to 20 just alone in the state of Pennsylvania. I know here in New York, we have like 24. Check out your local SBDC. They are completely free, completely confidential. They have a wealth of information. As entrepreneurs, you feel like you're on an island, that you're on your own. And just like Isabel, just these folks care. They're here for you to help you through your entrepreneurial journey. Take a look at this series that we have lined up for you guys. So again, I am so honored and blessed that you joined us today. Please don't go anywhere. I want to tackle and address any questions. Plus, we have an office hour for you. My dear friend Allison DeFord is on Friday. And then moving forward from the 14th, the 21st, 11th, we have high-level speakers every single week. We just got done talking about Amazon. We have this gentleman coming up in September. He's a keynote speaker. He's extremely renowned. His name is Brian Beck. He's speaking on September. We have somebody from Alibaba speaking on September 22nd. So all through the summer, we have e-commerce experts coming at you to help you out on your journey. So surround yourself only with people who are going to take you higher. And guys, you're doing it right here at the Small Business Development Center. So lastly, again, we have our free webinar every Friday. I have a great New York Times bestselling author. She is Isabel, you're going to love Allison Levine. She's climbed the highest peak of every continent. She led the first women's team to climb Mount Everest. She is a rock star. If you're into TED Talks, she has just an amazing TED Talk. She's speaking for us in a couple weeks. Guys, if you want a copy of my book, I would be honored, happy to send you a completely free copy, no obligation. I'm Kurt at B2B Tail. Isabel and the team, they're going to send you an e-commerce resource guide that I have for you. And that is my program for you guys. So any questions, please don't go anywhere. I'd love to stick around. Isabel, do we have any questions?
We do. So we do have a couple questions. I've also dropped a link to a survey about today's webinar into the chat, as well as the Zoom link for the office hours that are going to follow this series. Will be there from 1 to 2. We have a question that came in through the Q&A. What word count should blogs be in length when you're writing a blog? About how long should you be aiming for?
Yep, awesome question. And I'm flying through the chat box real quick. Let's see, who asked that, if you don't mind?
Rachel,
thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. And I think I checked your business out last night, Rachel, if I'm not mistaken. I received the roster and I checked out some of you guys. Sorry to sound stalkish, but I always enjoy, if we were in person, we'd be shaking hands or high-fiving and we would be talking about your business. So I'd love to learn about your business. Love the question, Rachel. So here's if you're on WordPress makes it super easy, where they have a thing called Yoast. So it's called SEO Yoast. If any of you are on WordPress, and what it does is it helps guide you on how you should blog. What they recommend is a minimum of 300 words. Minimum of 300 words is what a blog post should contain, is that recommendation. Let's take it the next level. If you go on like HubSpot or some of the other, if you're familiar with some like the high level marketers, they call it like cornerstone content, or there's another name like high level content, and they're going to recommend thousands of keywords. And there's been tons of studies of like, what is Google looking for to capture like that #1 or first page ranking? And what they're noticing is with a higher level that higher level of content. So say, for example, whatever industry you're in, if you had, the official resource guide on X, my pen, this is the official pen resource guide. No one else has one better. And I have all sorts of information. I have a video. And what Google's looking for is length of time on your website. So the longer the content is, and the more valuable and helpful that the content is, the longer that they're going to stay on your website, #1. #2, the more frequent that somebody attends. And back to that length of time, that's why it's great to have a little video on that blog post, because now hopefully you want to encourage a little enticement, maybe like that FOMO, that fear of missing out. I have to watch that video. Now Google is saying, boy, this is really an authoritative site. People are digging it. And that's how you help capture those top rankings. So shorter content, 300 words, you easily can get into 1,000 words. If you want to start knocking it out and you want to go after that competition for those competitive keywords, you want to get into like that 3,000, maybe 5,000 word count. Sounds like a lot. Now, what we did at Falconer Electronics, as you recall, is we created a series. So we weren't trying to tackle everything at once. We did a bunch of steps, and then we took all those posts and we repurposed the content. When I say that, just kind of massage it, rearranged it, and we created that one big guide. So that's my advice to you, Rachel.
great. We didn't have, this isn't a question, it's just a comment from Gladys, which is that She is also a fan of DigiKey, and they own AliExpress too. It's just a fun comment there.
Okay, yep. So AliExpress is part of Alibaba, and so Alibaba has like multiple moving parts. If any of you, if you're in manufacturing, if you're into electronics, like Gladys says, DigiKey is a phenomenal website. And for Falconer Electronics, we have found like their soulmates are hanging out on those. They love DigiKey because those engineers are purchasing more so where Amazon is more consumer based. So there's all sorts of different B2B industrial marketplaces out there. I strongly encourage you dig into like what marketplaces are in your sector or in your world. And it's a great place to attract that. And here's another thing to consider, not only to buy, but also they might see you on like say a DigiKey, Walmart, Amazon. They might come over to your website and buy directly from you on your website. So it's twofold. Also, another thing to throw out, if you're in a B2B space and you sell to government or other, say Fortune 500 or companies or larger companies, a lot of those companies have to buy from Zorro or they have to buy from certain platforms. So it's great. We want to make it as easy as possible for our soulmates to buy from us. So by being on those platforms, it's just a multitude of benefits where, maybe they can't give you a purchase order direct, but boy, they can buy from Zorro direct. And so that's another incentive for you to be on Zorro.
Great. And a little more detail from Gladys. Gladys designs wearable fashion for pets. And so they get their electronic supplies from AliExpress.
Awesome. Awesome. And I'm a huge dog lover, Gladys. So my extreme admiration for you making great fashionable products for pets. So God bless you there. That's awesome.
So I do not see any other questions. Oh, here's one. I'm going to read this whole question from Shelley. I'm getting into pattern design on various products and was wondering if it would be more efficient to create my own products for these patterns rather than use print-on-demand sites. Very new to all this, but looking to create my own future and stay self-employed. Have been a self-employed graphic designer up to this point. Thank you for providing this series. So we are going to be doing office hours really shortly. So that might be a good question for those. Kurt, I'll let you make that call.
Yeah, Shelley, if you have a few minutes, I would love for you to stick around and I would love to attack that question with, if, come off mute and we could talk that through. I would love to talk that through with you.
And so unfortunately, because we are in webinar mode, all attendees are going to remain on mute, but we are coming up to the end of this session, and I will drop the link to the office hours, which is in meeting style. So everybody, when you join the office hours, it'll be one-on-one, and you'll be able to, to be in more of a conversation.
Perfect. And I see Gladys's comment. That's way to go, Gladys. I love it. Pet Tech Fashion on Instagram are my pages.
I love the networking going on in the chat. Everybody's dropping their names and their LinkedIn and stuff.
Yeah, please, awesome. before we jump in, guys, please, if you've got time, we're going to head over to the office hours. I would be, it'd be a thrill to connect with you. Love to dig in any questions. If I don't have an answer, I try to pride myself. I know somebody who does, or we can try to help you figure it out. So please stick around, drop your website, drop your LinkedIn profile, connect with anybody. So this has been absolutely wonderful.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you shortly in office hours, hopefully.
Awesome. Thank you, Isabel. Thank you, everyone. God bless and have a great day.
Everybody.